The work of wildlife organizations like Pheasants Forever touches two of my top priorities and two of the President's top priorities. We are both interested in revitalizing and strengthening rural America, and also to improve the health and welfare of the children of this country. I think President Teddy Roosevelt had it right when he said, conservation and rural life policies are really two sides of the same policy. America's rural communities, frankly, have been facing some serious challenges, not for just the last couple of years as the nation goes through a difficult recession, but candidly for decades. Folks in rural America are more likely to live in poverty. Their communities are facing deteriorating infrastructure and declining populations. And one of the key strategies that I have identified for revitalizing rural communities is to capitalize, and I mean capitalize, on the opportunities presented to us by our natural resources. That includes conservation and energy generation, but also, very importantly, it also includes hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation. I don't think Americans understand or appreciate that hunting in America is worth $67 billion annually in economic activity. And over 500,000 Americans are employed in some way as a result of what we do. At USDA, we want to make sure that rural America is actively working to encourage outdoor recreation and to capitalize on the economic opportunities it represents. And with that goal in mind, earlier this month, as has been indicated, Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar and I announced the establishment of the Wildlife and Hunting Heritage Conservation Council. This group will be comprised of representatives of hunting and outdoor organizations and will advise both the Department of Interior and the USDA on steps we need to take to improve wildlife habitat, hunting opportunities, and outdoor recreation. We believe this group will act as a voice for sportsmen and sportswomen in the federal government. And we think it's a terrific step in strengthening that partnership with all those who hunt and fish and who are concerned about conservation. Now, getting more Americans, and particularly young Americans, outdoors is also an important priority of this administration because it focuses on a strategy for improving the health and well-being of our children. And the facts are that over 1/3 of America's children are either obese or at risk of being obese. And one of the principal reasons for that, beyond not having proper nutrition, is what the First Lady has indicated in her Let's Move initiative, and that is that our youngsters spend too little time outdoors and far too much time in front of televisions and computer screens. That's why we're interested in reconnecting those youngsters with the outdoors. The U.S. Forest Service is working to get more children in the woods through the creation of a children's forest program in some of our national forests, promoting programs also for employment and educational opportunities. And that's why I was so excited to hear about Pheasants Forever, No Child Left Indoors program. It's going to get kids involved in activities in the great outdoors while instilling in them an understanding of nature and conservation. Reconnecting the children and all Americans to the outdoors is a critical component of our work at USDA. And candidly, most Americans who do not live in rural communities and are not part of the hunting and fishing crowd may not appreciate the value that our forests, grasslands, and farmlands play in their daily lives, in all of our lives. I believe our prosperity is closely linked to the health of our land and natural resources. Our public and working lands support agriculture and forestry, hunting and fishing, recreation and tourism, and green jobs and income. Americans just simply do not understand the vital role that public and working lands play in their daily lives. For example, few understand that the national forests and grasslands supply nearly 20% of the nation's water supply. Tens of millions of Americans rely on water that comes from our working lands, our farms, our ranches, and privately owned forests. And of course, stewardship of those lands is a critical component of conservation of wildlife, as everyone in this room understands and appreciates. At USDA, we've laid out an ambitious agenda for our Forest Service, NRCS, and FSA. In our national forests, we're focusing on restoring our forests for the benefit of water quality and climate. We're taking an all-lands approach that emphasizes the importance of conserving those working privately owned forests as well. NRCS and FSA are critically important as well. We believe that by targeting our resources to important landscapes, natural resource concerns, and wildlife, we can work collaboratively with landowners and conservation groups, resulting in greater results for taxpayer dollars. I want to emphasize how important collaboration is to our vision for promoting stewardship and conservation. Since your founding in 1982, Pheasants Forever wildlife habitat projects have benefited over 5.3 million acres across America and Canada. Your work and the Farm Bill programs have helped to make an impressive progress. In 25 years since 1982, soil erosion on cropland has decreased by 44%. That's impressive and certainly worth celebrating. But obviously we have to do more. In many regions, we are still losing farms, ranches, and forests to urbanization and development. We still lose today 1.7 billion tons of our precious soil each year to wind and water erosion. And I know the weather this year is not going to help bird numbers. In the bigger picture, many wildlife species, bobwhite quail, sage grouse, and many other grassland birds remain in trouble. That's why USDA is committed to working with our partners across the country to make our conservation efforts as smart and as effective as possible. And luckily, we've got the tools to make this a reality. We have a host of important programs focused on public and private working land conservation, but none, and I emphasize none, is as important as the Conservation Reserve Program, our CRP program. This December, we're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of CRP. So it's my hope that we can take some time today and over the coming year to celebrate the achievements of CRP and to improve on it. Now, here are some of the reasons why we all can be proud of CRP. For hunters in prime pheasant country, a 4% increase in CRP acreage leads to a 22% increase in pheasant counts. CRP acreage is also shown to increase duck populations by 46%. And CRP has been very successful in numerous states to expand voluntary public access programs and walk-in programs. CRP has helped us restore more than 2 million acres of wetlands and 2 million acres of riparian buffers. To maintain a clean water supply, each year CRP keeps more than 600 million pounds of nitrogen and more than 100 million pounds of phosphorus from flowing into our nation's streams, rivers, and lakes. And it also helps to improve the bottom line for our farmers and ranchers, providing over $1.8 billion annually. It is these dollars that help make local economies thrive, support small businesses, and create jobs. CRP is also the largest private lands carbon sequestration program in the country. By placing vulnerable cropland into conservation, CRP sequesters carbon in plants and soil and reduces both fuel and fertilizer usage. In 2009, CRP resulted in carbon sequestration taking the equivalent of 10 million cars off the road. I know many of you are concerned about the future of CRP and the large number of acres that are set to expire over the next few years. One of our goals in this administration will be to ensure that we maintain high enrollments. As acres are lost, we intend to take aggressive steps to re-enroll acres into the program. Let me give you an example. President Obama's budget recently submitted to Congress assumes that this year we will have, and I can guarantee we will have, a general sign-on for the first time since 2006. FSA folks are working hard on the environmental impact statement that's required for the program, and when that's completed, we'll announce the specific dates of the sign-on. But in addition to ensuring that we replace acres that come out of CRP, we also want to improve the quality of the acres in the program. We want to do more for wildlife, more for water, more for climate. And we want to be able to do it on the same amount of acres. This means we have to do a better job of targeting our acres. Done well, CRP and other Farm Bill programs can help us solve a number of critical natural resources issues. CRP can help us reduce agricultural runoff in the Mississippi River, the Chesapeake Bay, or the Great Lakes. It can help us address groundwater recharge in the Great Plains. And as you know, CRP can help bolster populations of pheasants, quails, and ducks, and many rare species like the sage grouse, the lesser prairie chicken, and others. So one of our goals will also be to target CRP acres in a way that gives the American taxpayer more bang for the buck while addressing some of the most important conservation challenges facing us.